Hi, I'm Greg Lefebvre, the creator and host of the Compulsive Storyteller podcast. Today we're introducing a new segment on the show called Pass the Mic. Once or twice a month, we'll invite a talented guest with an interesting story to join us on the podcast to tell their story or to chat with me about storytelling. I'm excited to introduce today's guest, Kevin Allison. Kevin is the creator and host of the Risk podcast, where people tell true stories they never thought they'd dare to share since 2009. Kevin is also a member of the legendary sketch comedy troupe The State, known for the hit show on MTV in the 90s and reuniting for a tour this coming fall. And now, Kevin Allison.
Okay, ready to go? Well, there was a place called Luna Lounge in the Lower East Side of Manhattan that in 1996 was like the mecca of alternative comedy. It was so popular. It was always jam-packed and all these people that were pretty big names back then, but now are huge names like Dave Chappelle and Louis C.K., Sarah Silverman, Janine Garofalo. All these people were always there.
I live on the Lower East Side. What was the physical place like? Was it a basement or was
It was a basement between Houston and Stanton on Ludlow. So it was pretty near Katz's Deli right there.
I live on Houston and Christie now, so I'm still a stone's throw away. Okay, so it sounds like a great place.
And there was a night in 1996 when it was at the height of its popularity when I jumped up on that stage and I thought, "Oh my gosh, this is kind of a make it or break it moment because there's all these important people here." There were also industry people there, agents and managers. And I was prepared to do a comedy monologue by myself for the first time, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, I really have to nail this." And the thing was, the reason it was so nerve-wracking is because my sketch comedy group had just broken up. I had burst into comedy after graduating from NYU and had immediately gotten on TV. My sketch comedy group, The State, was so successful with our career at NYU that almost immediately upon graduating, we had our own TV show for a few years.
Wow, that's amazing.
But then we broke up, and now I was like, "Oh my god, I'm all alone now. I have to be on stage with no one there to catch me if I fall," because that's the secret of sketch comedy groups, improv comedy, all that sort of team sort of comedy is easier in so many ways because if you drop the ball, someone else can pick it up or make a joke about it or
Absolutely.
yeah, so I was a nervous wreck.
Emotionally, was it a serious breakup?
Yes, it was a bit like the Beatles, actually, where it was like a year and a half or so of are we breaking up or aren't we breaking up and should we keep trying to stay together? It was because we had so many contractual problems. We were trying to do something first at maybe Comedy Central and then something at maybe Disney and everything was just so confusing and taking so long that everyone was starting to starve and started to do things behind one another's back. So it just became too messy. But I'll tell you one thing. A lot of the other members of the state had gotten up at Luna Lounge and made a huge impression on people. So I was like, well, now it's my time. And I got up on that stage and I had prepared a monologue where the whole joke was I present myself as if I'm Charles Manson. Like it's a character monologue, right? Then I break and start laughing and say to the audience, "I'm not Charles Manson. Do I look like Charles? Come on." And it turns out in the monologue, I'm kind of a schizophrenic guy. Like I keep bouncing back and forth. Maybe I'm Manson, maybe I'm a lunatic. Well, Manson himself was a bit of a lunatic, but it's all over the place. So I was so nervous about all of this that I had spent the prior 3 days. I thought to myself, here's what you do. When you have self-esteem problems, social anxiety problems, what's a surefire way to feel more confident about performing? Just memorize the heck out of everything.
Yeah, that's one way.
Yeah, so I had written this, like, 9 paragraph long comedy character monologue, and I had walked up and down the whole length of Manhattan for the past couple of days just listening to that thing on my Sony Walkman with Megabass. Just hearing the monologue over and over and over and over, and I thought, "I know every word of this so well that I'll be fine." Well, I'll tell you, I got to the end of the first paragraph
As Manson,
as Manson,
right?
or is he, and completely forgot the entire rest of the monologue. I'm staring out at this room. It is packed. There's people crawling up the walls practically. It's so packed. And another thing that was crazy about it, it's the 90s. So it was actually kind of a punk rock dive bar. They didn't even have seats. It was such a fire hazard. People were sitting, like, with their legs crossed
Yeah,
on the floor. It
yeah.
was just a mess. Well, I thought to myself, "Okay, this is the worst nightmare." I'm staring out at all these blank faces who are like, "What's he doing next?" And I thought, "Okay, I cannot for the life of me remember what comes next in this monologue. I'll just go back to the beginning."
Oh, dear. Yeah,
'Cause in a split second, I was thinking, well, if I start from the beginning again, then I'll get to this point, and that time I'll probably remember where I'm at. So I start over, and I'm like, "Hey, everyone, I'm Charles Manson." "No, I'm not." And everyone was like, "What? Now this is like a Beckett play or something, like a surrealist or what's going on here?" Well, sure enough, I get to the very same final word of that first paragraph, and I go completely blank again.
mm,
Just cannot remember what comes next. So I was really like a deer in the headlights, actually, I kind of felt like I was in water or something like that, like in a like when they throw the ball at the guy in the dunking booth and it hits and
yeah,
he,
yeah, 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 yeah.
because I just couldn't think what to say to everybody, and I just was it was just such a moment of panic, really.
Totally.
So what I did was I turned to the host, who was Jeff Ross, and I said to him, "I can't do this." And I started to try to leave. Now, I was trying to just say it to him, but kind of forgot, "Oh, you're right near this microphone." So everyone heard me say, "I can't do this." And in order to leave, I had to there were no
You had to go
aisles.
through the crowd. Yeah,
I had to be stepping over like a guy walking through a field of
yeah.
cacti. All the people. And they thought, "Oh, this is alternative comedy. This is like an Andy Kaufman routine. Like he's saying he can't do it. Like like, oh, we get it now." So they start yelling out, "No, you can do it. Do it.
Oh,
Do
nice,
it.
nice. Yeah.
Do it." And then finally, I get to this point where it's getting so hard to get out of there. I'm saying to people, "No, I can't do this." And finally, someone grabs one of my feet, and I fall into the crowd,
So you were
and
up
they
on a stage?
no, 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 I was climbing over people out there in the audience.
Got you.
Someone grabs one of my feet, and I fall into them, and they start crowd surfing me because that was a huge thing in the '90s.
They crowd surfed you back up to the stage?
They absolutely did, and it was so awkward because, everyone's only 3 feet everyone was seated cross-legged on the ground, so there was just I was 3 feet off the ground being bobbled up back onto the stage.
Right.
So they kind of surfed me back up there and kind of belched me back up onto that stage, and everyone was cheering. And I'll tell you, something happened in that moment. I realized I was like, I am not the dominant partner in this power relationship. They want me to do this goddamn monologue, and they think I can.
And they've got your back, definitely.
Yeah,
Literally.
right, exactly. They believe I can do it. And something about that made me be able to remember the rest of the monologue
Oh,
perfectly.
fantastic, fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, I picked it back up and did it, and it went over huge. It was a huge success.
Great story, yeah, so
Oh my god, I'll tell you. There was a guy from, I think it was the Abrams agency. I don't know if the talent agency is still around, but he was a big important, like, at least like commercials and indie films sort of agent. And he said to me afterwards, he was like, "You knocked it out of the park. You were the best act at the show tonight. You stole the show." And it was so funny. I didn't have enough, like, I don't know, savvy to, like, play it off. I was just honest with him. I was like, "Oh, you don't understand. I literally was trying to flee the theater at that point." And he said to me, "Oh, well, then you survived the so-called actor's nightmare. You went through the worst that it can possibly be, so you can look at that as, 'Hey, I lived through that, so I can live through anything as an actor.'" And you know what? I didn't take that in at that moment. I didn't really soak that message in because I continued to kind of be plagued by stage fright and social anxiety. But years and years and years later,
yep,
when I was about to turn 40, I started telling true stories on stage,
mhm.
and there was a big difference to me somehow psychologically telling true stories like this one.
Well, they're easy to remember too because they happened to you.
Exactly, and you do feel much more like you're in a
Right,
conversation
right, right.
where you can literally say to someone, "Oh, wait, let me what was I just saying?" You know what I mean? Like if you blank out, you can be like, "Wait, what
Mhm.
did okay, let me," you can ask for help.
And that's a great thing to believe, very helpful,
Totally.
yeah, so
Totally. Yeah, the audience is ultimately on your side.
so when I was young man, maybe I started to play the violin at age 6,
Uh-huh.
and by the time I was, like, 11 or 12, I had people thought I was some kind of a prodigy, which I don't think I was, but and my teacher, who was the conductor of the local symphony, he got a gig for me to play my first recital in a hall.
Wow.
And I rehearsed with a pianist for, like, 3 months, and the closer it got one of the symptoms of stage fright is you get tunnel vision, and then you can't even see, and every time I thought about it, I just got the shakes. I almost blacked out, and I was just didn't wanna do it, and didn't wanna do it, and
Wow.
I was just completely mortified. I told a friend of mine, and he said to me his father was a optometrist. He says, "You know what?" I said, Maybe I could wear a sleeping mask." It was an idea if I can't see the audience, maybe I won't be afraid," which is
I'll be darned.
totally foolhardy. So he said, "I know what you can do better than that. I can get some drops to dilate your pupils, and then you'll be fine."
Wow.
So that seemed like a solution. So so the I had the drops and the afternoon before the plus I had several things I had to do. I had a new jacket my parents bought me. I had a if you play the violin and your hand gets sweats, it sticks to the neck of the violin. That's bad. So in my left pocket, I had a envelope of talcum powder, and then I also thought because my pupils were dilated, I was very sensitive to light. I had a pair of sunglasses in one of my pockets,
Uh-huh.
and so I was ready to go. And also, my parents said I had a new shirt, but they'd cinched it up in the back, so there was I was just held together with like bubble gum. So when it came time, they introduced me, and I didn't come out because I was just completely frozen. And my pianist was next to me, and I peeked out, and then I stuck my head out from behind the curtain, and I could see sort of a pointillist painting of an audience because I
Mhm.
couldn't see at all.
Mhm.
And then I pull my head back in again and everybody laughed. And then and then just like you, everybody said, "Come out, come out, come out."
Really?
Yeah, and so
Really?
well, and also my sisters, I heard them chortle first of all because they kinda loved this, they were my younger sisters. So finally, I came through the curtain, and I couldn't see a thing. I could see the piano was this big black blob. So
Oh
I
my
felt my way along the
gosh.
back curtain. I was holding the curtain. I had to make a sort of a leap to the piano, and the pianist was sitting on her bench, and she had to jump aside. Then I held on. Then I felt my way around the piano to the front of the piano, um, and
Oh
then,
my god.
I started to play. Well, she started to play, and then I came in, and
Uh-huh.
we had made a deal that if you forget your line, so to speak, you go back to the beginning. But
Uh-huh.
we never discussed the beginning of that section of what we were doing. I was playing with Zeitz's violin concerto with piano. So when I forgot what I was doing very quickly, but I was already past the first section, I went back to the beginning of the first section. She went back to the beginning of the whole thing. So
Oh my
we
god.
didn't make it. So then she stopped, I started, I stopped, she started, which is much like you. And then at a certain point, I put my hand in my pocket and I smeared powder all over my blue jacket. Um,
Oh.
then I put my sunglasses on, and then the crowd loved it. The crowd was chanting again because I think maybe they thought it was an act because I literally have. So now I have my sunglasses on, and then I came to a point where, like you, I completely panicked and came to a frozen stop and decided to flee the stage, except I did flee the stage. I ran
Uh-huh.
across the stage, into the curtain, out into the alleyway behind the stage, and hid behind a dumpster.
Oh my
And
god.
that was the end of my recital. My sister came out behind the thing and found me, and my parents took me out for ice cream afterwards, which I was not even slightly interested in because somebody might have seen me at the recital. But, so that was the sort of the beginning and end of my violin career. So,
That is
yeah.
amazing,
But there's a lot of
amazing.
an incredible number of parallels to you. When you were completely came to a standstill, did you get tunnel vision?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was you're exactly right. A sort of a thing where almost like I don't know, in a Hitchcock sort of movie where or like in Vertigo where yeah, like you become a little bit hypnotized and can't quite yeah.
Well, this has been a real treat.
Yes, it was very funny. It was awesome that we had such similar stories.
Say a word again about so your podcast is called Risk, and just give us a little riff about it one more time to stay in people's heads.
Risk is the show where people tell true stories they never thought they'd dare to share in public. So it's very uncensored, very vulnerable, radical honesty. Some of the stories are funny, some are terrifying
Mhm,
or kinky
mhm.
or whatever. A lot of it you could not hear on like national public radio because it's a little on the more uncensored side. We've been doing it for 14 years, and yeah, it's
Wow.
it's it's quite popular, but and it's really something to be doing it that long, Oh, I was gonna say, The State, my sketch comedy group that I mentioned breaking up with in that story,
Right.
we're actually reuniting this
Oh,
s
nice.
yeah, we're doing a show in Denver on August 30th, and then probably a whole tour throughout September and some of October.
Oh, fantastic. Are you gonna get to New York?
Yes, yeah, we're supposed to be at the Palladium. I'm not exactly sure the dates yet, but yeah, be super fun.
Great. No, I'll be in the front row, yeah, so.
Fabulous.
Well, listen, Kevin, thanks so much for coming on, share the mic. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
And good luck with your tour.
Yes, thanks so much.
Okay. Bye-bye. Are you ready to tell your own story on The Compulsive Storyteller? We're launching a new segment of guest storytelling, and we want to hear your stories. Email a voice recording to hello@thecompulsivestoryteller.com. I'll play selected stories on upcoming episodes. Try to be as clear as possible in your recording, and we reserve the right to lightly edit them for length and clarity. Leave your name or contact information in your voicemail or email, and let us know if you'd like the story to be anonymous. I can't wait to hear from you. The Compulsive Storyteller is now co-produced by Greg Lefebvre and Fadia Montserrat, who's also arranged the music and created the special effects. Emily Ramon does design, research, editing, and marketing. Peter Kokoma has made our theme music and for many seasons co-produced the show with me. If you enjoyed this week's episode, let us know. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Compulsive Storyteller, and we'd love to hear from you. This podcast is independently produced, so we really appreciate all your help and support. Share the show with your friends, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and please leave a review. You can also check out our website, thecompulsivestoryteller.com, for more information. Thanks for listening, and if you didn't like this one, the next one will be another story.